Have you ever noticed how the same stories seem to echo inside your mind, over and over again, as if you are stuck in an invisible loop that never ends? Stories about who you are, what you deserve, what you can or cannot do. Perhaps it is the story of a failure from years ago, or the memory of someone who hurt you deeply, or even the subtle voice that whispers you are not enough. These stories are not simply thoughts passing through the mind. They are vibrations, commands, and energetic instructions. Every time you repeat them, whether silently to yourself or out loud to others, your entire being is listening. Your heart, your nervous system, your subconscious, and even the very cells of your body absorb the frequency of that story, storing it, replaying it, and shaping your reality around it. When you wake in the morning, before you even step out of bed, your mind has often already activated the old programs. You remember the responsibilities, the struggles, the patterns you've been carrying. Without realizing it, you step into the identity you've rehearsed for years. In that moment, you are not creating something new, you are reliving the past, and yet beneath this cycle, there is a quiet truth waiting for you. You are not bound to those old stories, you are far more than the limitations you've been repeating. The difference between the old self and the new self can be subtle, yet life-changing. The old self clings to narratives of lack, fear, and survival. It replays the same arguments, the same regrets, the same excuses. It sees the world through the lens of wounds that never seem to heal. But the new self, that radiant awakened aspect of you, understands that stories are malleable, that identity is fluid, and that reality can shift the moment you decide to no longer feed the vibration of the past. Think of how a song, when played again and again, becomes etched into your memory. You can recall its melody, without effort. In the same way, the stories you repeat become etched into your body's memory. They are not just in your head, they live in your nervous system, in your posture, in the way your heart beats faster when you face a challenge that resembles an old wound. Science now shows us that repeated thoughts and emotions send chemical signals that alter the very functioning of your cells. Spiritual traditions have been teaching the same truth for centuries. Your words are spells, and your body listens to every spell you cast. If this feels heavy, it's because you already know, deep inside, how much energy you've lost to those old stories. You know how it feels to explain to a friend why things never change, to justify to yourself why your dreams are out of reach, to silently declare that this is just who I am. These repetitions may feel harmless, even comforting, because they are familiar, but familiarity is not freedom. Familiarity is the comfort of a cage that has kept you from the sky, and yet, here is the beauty, at any moment, you can begin to tell a different story. You can choose to notice the words you speak, the thoughts you rehearse, the inner dialogue that defines your days. You can choose to pause before repeating the old script, and gently replace it with something that expands you, something that aligns you with the reality you long for. The shift does not happen overnight, but it begins in an instant, the instant you decide that your past does not have to be your future. This introduction is not about shaming the old self or denying the pain you've carried. It is about awakening to the truth that you have a choice. The old self has served you in some way. It has kept you safe, helped you survive, given you an identity to hold on to. But now, you are ready for something more. You are ready to move from survival to creation, from repetition to expansion, from the prison of old stories to the freedom of new possibilities. As you listen to these words, notice the part of you that is already nodding in recognition. Notice the quiet stirring in your chest, the whisper that says, yes, this is me. I've been repeating the same story, and I am ready to let it go. That whisper is the voice of your new self, the one who sees beyond the limits of the past. It knows that your cells are not fixed, they are dynamic, responding every second to the signals you give them. It knows that when you change your story, you change your chemistry, your energy, and your reality. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to wake up tomorrow and not reach for the old story, to open your eyes, and instead of remembering your pain, to remember your power, to step into your day as if you were free from the identity you've rehearsed for so long. This is not a fantasy, it is a possibility, waiting for your permission. Your body is listening, your energy is listening, the universe itself is listening, and all it needs from you is a new story to respond to. In this journey we are about to take together, you will learn how the stories you repeat shape your biology and your destiny, how they create the loop of the old self, and most importantly, how you can begin to rewrite those stories in alignment with the reality you truly desire. This is more than just self-help or positive thinking. It is the conscious act of becoming a creator rather than a prisoner of your past. So take a deep breath. Allow yourself to feel both the weight of the old stories and the possibility of the new. You are standing at a threshold. One path leads deeper into repetition, and the other opens into freedom. The choice is yours, and it begins here, in this very moment. Because whether you realize it or not, your cells are listening, and they are waiting for the next story you will tell. When we talk about stories, most people think of memories, events, or words spoken in conversation. But stories are much deeper than that. They are the energetic blueprints we live inside. Every story you tell is like a thread, and when woven together, those threads become the fabric of your reality. From a spiritual lens, stories are spells. They shape not only your perception of the world, but also the frequency you radiate outward. From a scientific perspective, these stories are patterns of thought and emotion, and they send signals into your nervous system, which in turn communicates directly with your body's cells. Both spirit and science agree, what you repeat becomes what you are. In ancient traditions, words have always been treated as sacred. The Vedas describe the universe itself as sound, vibration giving birth to matter. The Bible opens with the declaration, "In the beginning was the Word." Shamans, mystics and sages across cultures speak of chants, mantras, and incantations, knowing that what is spoken with intention shapes the energetic field of the one who speaks it. These teachings may sound mystical, but they echo a profound truth. The stories you tell yourself are not passive, they are alive, charged with vibration, creating ripples in your inner and outer worlds. Modern science, in its own way, is beginning to confirm what these traditions have always known. Neuroscience teaches us that the brain is plastic, meaning it rewires itself continuously in response to repeated thoughts and experiences. Each time you repeat a story, whether it's "I always fail," "I never find love," or "I'm just unlucky," you are reinforcing a neural pathway. Like carving a groove into the earth, the more you repeat it, the deeper that groove becomes, and the easier it is for your mind to flow into that same track again. Your brain does not distinguish between an external reality and an internal thought. It treats both as experiences, shaping your responses and behaviors accordingly. Epigenetics, the study of how our environment and perceptions affect gene expression, goes even further. It reveals that your cells are not locked into a fixed program, dictated only by DNA. Instead, they respond to the signals they receive from your environment, your lifestyle, and yes, from your thoughts and emotions. If your repeated story is drenched in fear, resentment, or hopelessness, your body receives those signals as truth. Stress hormones flood your system, immune responses weaken, and your cellular environment shifts toward survival mode. But if your repeated story carries hope, possibility, and love, your cells respond with expansion, vitality, and resilience. In this way, your biology is a mirror reflecting the stories you tell. Consider for a moment how this plays out in your daily life. Imagine someone who constantly repeats the story, "Nothing ever works out for me." Every setback, no matter how small, becomes proof that the story is true. Their body feels the stress of expectation, bracing for disappointment before it even arrives. Their cells learn to anticipate failure, and their reality bends to confirm what they already believe. Now imagine someone who repeats the story, "I am supported, and opportunities always find me." This person begins to notice possibilities they would have overlooked before. Their nervous system relaxes, their body responds with balance, and they align themselves with a completely different stream of experiences. The outer world mirrors the inner narrative. The harmony between spiritual teachings and scientific discoveries is striking. Spiritual wisdom says, "As within, so without." Science says, "Your perceptions influence your biology." Both are pointing to the same reality. Your inner stories are not private, they are creative forces shaping your body, your health, your relationships, and the reality you walk into each day. This is why repeating old stories can be so damaging. You are not only remembering them, you are reliving them. Your body is not aware that the event is over. To your cells, it is happening right now. And this is where awareness becomes powerful, because if your body is listening, then changing your story means changing your life on the most fundamental level. But to change it, you must first recognize it. Most people live unconsciously, speaking words and repeating thoughts without noticing their vibration. They joke about being unlucky, complain about their health, speak negatively about money, or declare they are bad with love. They believe these are harmless statements, when in truth, they are self-fulfilling prophecies, vibrations that anchor them to the very reality they wish to escape. This is why the spiritual path asks for mindfulness of speech and thought, not as a moral rule, but as a recognition of creative power. When you say, "I am," you are summoning a reality into existence. "I am tired. I am broke. I am always overlooked." Each phrase is a declaration, and your cells receive the message as a command, but the same principle works in your favor. I am healing, I am abundant, I am loved. These two are spells, vibrations that open new neural pathways and shift your biology into alignment with higher possibilities. Think of your subconscious mind as fertile soil. The stories you repeat are seeds. The more you water them with attention and emotion, the faster they grow. If you continue to plant the seeds of old pain, you will continue to harvest the same experiences. But if you consciously choose new seeds, stories of empowerment, healing, and possibility, you create a different harvest. This is not wishful thinking. It is how consciousness works, and science is now catching up to validate it. The truth is, you are both scientist and mystic in your own life. Every thought you repeat is an experiment you are running, shaping the conditions of your inner laboratory. Every word you speak is a vibration released into the field of creation, and your cells, those intelligent, listening, living entities, are your most loyal audience. They don't question you. They don't argue. They simply respond. If you tell them the story of pain, they embody it. If you tell them the story of transformation, they begin to reorganize themselves in alignment with that vision. So when we speak of stories, we are not speaking of abstract ideas. We are speaking of the bridge between spirit and science, between the invisible and the visible, between thought and flesh. Your stories are the silent architects of your reality. To repeat an old story, unconsciously, is to give away your creative power. To choose a new story consciously, is to reclaim it. As you take in this awareness, let it sink into you. Your words, your thoughts, your beliefs, they are not trivial. They are not background noise. They are the most potent instruments you will ever hold. And as you begin to use them with intention, you open the door to a life where your body, your energy, and your reality move in harmony with the story you truly desire to live. The stories you repeat do more than echo inside your mind. They become the walls of an invisible prison. Imagine living inside a cage, one whose bars are not made of metal, but of memory, belief, and emotion. Every time you tell yourself the same old story, about being abandoned, about being unworthy, about how nothing ever changes, you are tightening those bars, reinforcing the boundaries of your own confinement. The prison of the old self is subtle, because it feels familiar. And what is familiar can easily masquerade as safe, even when it is slowly suffocating your spirit. Most of us begin building this prison unconsciously in childhood. A single moment of rejection plants the story. I am not lovable. A harsh word from a parent becomes the story. I am not enough. A failure in school creates the story. I am not smart. These stories may seem small at first, but once repeated, they start to weave together like threads of a net. As the years go on, the net becomes tighter, until one day you find yourself unable to move freely. You want to leap into a new reality, but you cannot, because you are caught in the web of stories you have rehearsed for so long. This prison is not only mental, it is physical. Every thought of fear, shame, or guilt sends a cascade of stress chemicals into your body. Cortisol rises, your nervous system remains on alert, your heart beats as if danger is always near. Over time, your cells learn these signals as the normal state of being. Your muscles tense, your breath shortens, and your posture bends under the weight of invisible chains. You may not even realize how deeply your body has been shaped by the story you tell, but it is there in every gesture, every sigh, every night of restless sleep. The old self thrives on repetition. Like a broken record, it plays the same track over and over again. Even when life offers you new opportunities, the old story steps in quickly. This won't last. You'll fail again. You don't deserve this. And because your cells are listening, because your subconscious mind is listening, you unknowingly create circumstances to confirm what you already believe. The world becomes a mirror of your prison. Every disappointment feels like proof that the bars are real, when in truth, the bars were built from within. What makes this prison so difficult to escape is that it disguises itself as identity. You don't just say, I failed. You say, I am a failure. You don't just think that person left me. You say, I am unlovable. Slowly, without noticing, you become the story. And once you become the story, you defend it. You find comfort in telling others about it. You carry it into every conversation, every decision, every dream you dare to imagine. The old self is not only a prison, it is a mask that convinces you there is nothing beyond it. But listen closely, the prison is not permanent. The bars are not solid steel. They are illusions created by repetition. The old self is not your essence, it is simply a pattern, rehearsed until it feels real. The moment you see it for what it is, the cracks begin to form. The moment you recognize, this is just a story, not my truth, the prison door begins to unlock. Awareness is the first hammer that breaks the chain. Still, before you can step into freedom, you must understand the pull of the old self. It will not let go easily. It whispers constantly, because it fears extinction. The old self survives through fear, and fear feeds on familiarity. That is why when you attempt to change, the voice grows louder. This isn't you. It's dangerous to try. Better to stay the same. It is not that the old self hates you. It is that it has mistaken survival for safety. It believes that if it keeps you small, at least you will stay alive. But living in a cage is not the same as living fully. Consider how many times you've almost stepped into a new reality, only to feel pulled back by the weight of your old stories. Perhaps you wanted to speak up, but the story of being unworthy silenced your voice. Perhaps you wanted to pursue a dream, but the story of failure kept you frozen. Perhaps love appeared, but the story of abandonment pushed it away. This is the cruel trick of the prison. It convinces you the future will always be the same as the past, and in believing it you make it true. But imagine what your life would look like if you could see the prison clearly for what it is. Imagine looking at your old stories and realizing they are just echoes, not truths. They may have felt powerful once, but now they are only recordings, loops that can be turned off. You do not need to smash the prison with force. You only need to stop feeding it with attention. Without repetition, the bars dissolve. Without your belief, the mask of the old self fades away. In this recognition lies freedom. The prison exists only when you identify with it. The moment you step back and say, "This is the old story, not who I am," you create space between your essence and your patterns. That space is liberation. That space is where the new self begins to breathe. And here is the beautiful paradox. The old self is not your enemy. It is a teacher. It has shown you what happens when you forget your power. It has revealed the cost of repeating stories that do not serve you. It has made you long for freedom so deeply that now, in this moment, you are ready to step beyond it. Without the contrast of the prison, you might never have recognized the truth of your infinite capacity. The suffering of the old self becomes the very soil in which the new self can grow, so do not despise your old stories. Thank them, acknowledge them, but refuse to let them define you any longer. See the bars, but do not grip them. Notice the mask, but do not wear it. You are not the story. You are the awareness behind the story, the presence that has been listening all along. And when you remember that, the prison dissolves like mist in the morning sun. This is where the turning point begins. You have seen how the old self traps you, how it disguises itself as identity, how it convinces you to relive the past again and again. Now it is time to remember your power to rewrite the script. The prison is not forever, and the door has always been unlocked. All it takes is the courage to step through. And once you do, you discover the truth. You were never meant to live as a prisoner of your past. You were meant to live as a creator of your future. If your old stories have been shaping your body, your emotions, and your reality, then the question becomes, how do you begin to write a new script? How do you move from the repetitive loops of the old self into the expansive possibilities of the new self? The answer is not force, and it is not denial. The answer lies in awareness, gentle redirection, and the willingness to choose again and again until the new story becomes your new cellular truth. Think of your cells as instruments in a vast orchestra. For years they have been playing the same song, a melody of survival, fear, and limitation. The repetition has made the song automatic, but you as the conductor have the power to shift the rhythm, to introduce new notes, to gradually guide the orchestra into a new symphony. The process is not about silencing the old music all at once, but about slowly training your cells to respond to a higher frequency. The first step is awareness. Begin by listening carefully to the words you speak and the thoughts you repeat. Do you hear yourself saying, "I'm always unlucky"? Do you notice your mind rehearsing the story of how someone hurt you? Awareness is like turning on the light in a dark room. You may be startled at first to see how many old scripts are still running, but this awareness is not meant to shame you. It is meant to free you. For when you see the old story clearly, you are no longer unconsciously living inside it. Once you notice the story, the second step is choice. Every time an old narrative arises, you have a sacred moment where you can decide, do I continue rehearsing this, or do I gently choose another thought? This choice is subtle but powerful. At first it may feel strange to say something new. If you've been repeating, "I am unworthy," then saying, "I am worthy of love," may feel uncomfortable, even false. But remember, the old story only felt true because you repeated it for so long. With practice, the new story becomes natural, and the cells begin to respond differently. Visualization is one of the most profound tools in this process. When you imagine a new reality vividly, seeing it, feeling it, tasting it, your brain and body respond as if it is already happening. Science has shown that visualization activates the same neural circuits as real experience. Spirit teaches that what you hold in your inner vision becomes magnetized in the outer world. So each time you visualize yourself as healed, abundant, loved, and free, you are giving your cells a new script to follow. Affirmations are another tool, though they must be felt, not just spoken mechanically. Saying, "I am abundant," without emotion is like sending a whisper into the wind. But saying it with conviction, with breath, with gratitude, as if it were already true, plants it deep into your cellular memory. The vibration of your words matters more than their volume. The energy behind them is what your cells respond to. Meditation is equally vital, because it allows you to quiet the noise of the old self. In stillness, you create space for the new self to emerge. Meditation slows the brain waves, calms the nervous system, and opens you to the infinite field of possibility beyond your stories. In that silence, you are no longer the character trapped in the script. You become the author, the presence behind the narrative, free to write something new. But let us be honest, rewriting the cellular script requires persistence. The old self will not vanish overnight. Like a groove, worn deep in a record, it takes time for the new track to replace it. There will be moments when the old story returns with force. Do not see this as failure, see it as part of the process. Each time you choose the new story, even if only for a moment, you are strengthening new neural pathways. You are signaling your cells with a different vibration. You are practicing freedom. The body itself responds beautifully to embodiment practices, movements, breathwork, and rituals that anchor the new story into your physical being. Dance as if you are already free. Breathe as if abundance is already flowing through you. Stand tall as if you are already confident and worthy. These gestures speak directly to the subconscious mind, bypassing old thought patterns and delivering a new message to your cells. This is who I am now. Spiritual alignment plays an equally crucial role. You are not rewriting your script alone. The universe, the quantum field, source, whatever name you give it, responds to your vibration. When you align your inner story with love, gratitude, and possibility, the outer world begins to rearrange itself in harmony. Synchronicities appear, opportunities unfold, people enter your life at just the right moment. This is not coincidence, it is resonance. You attract what you embody. It is also important to release the emotional charge of the old stories. If trauma or pain has been stored in your body, simply repeating positive words may not be enough. You may need to feel, acknowledge, and release the energy of those old experiences. Cry, journal, scream, or sit with the emotions until they dissolve. By releasing them, you clear the space for new stories to take root. Your cells are then free to respond to the vibration of healing, rather than being anchored to the frequency of unprocessed pain. Rewriting the cellular script is less about fixing yourself and more about remembering who you truly are. The old self is a collection of illusions and defenses, but beneath them, your essence has always been whole. The new story is not something foreign. It is simply a return to your natural state of freedom, love, and power. Each time you align with it, you are coming home to yourself. So let this be your practice. Speak words that nourish you, visualize realities that expand you, embody the energy you desire, and surround yourself with reminders of your true self. Catch the old story when it arises, but do not fight it. Simply choose again. Each choice is like a brushstroke on the canvas of your life. With time, the old picture fades, and a new masterpiece emerges. And imagine how it will feel when your cells no longer echo the voice of fear, but vibrate with the song of freedom. When your body no longer reacts as if danger is near, but relaxes into trust. When your mind no longer replays the old script, but opens to possibility. This is not a distant dream. It is the reality you begin to create the moment you choose a new story. Remember, you are not the prisoner of your past. You are the author of your future, and your cells are listening right now, waiting for you to decide which script they will embody. Will you continue to repeat the old story, or will you begin to write the one your soul has been longing to live? The choice is yours, and it begins today. As we come to the close of this journey, pause for a moment and feel the truth of what you have just discovered. The stories you tell yourself are not background noise. They are the invisible architecture of your life. Each thought, each belief, each word you speak is a seed planted in the fertile soil of your body and your energy. And your cells, those living intelligent listeners, are always paying attention. They respond faithfully, without judgment, to whatever script you repeat most often. For too long, you may have lived inside the echoes of the old self, rehearsing the stories of fear, failure, and limitation. It is easy to mistake those stories for truth because they are familiar, because they have been repeated so many times that they feel real. But now you know, they were never your essence. They were simply patterns, rehearsed memories, that hardened into identity. The prison you thought was solid was built only of words and vibrations, and words and vibrations can always be changed. The shift begins in awareness. It begins when you notice the story as it arises, and realize, this is not who I am. This is only what I've been telling myself. In that moment of recognition, the power returns to you. From there you can choose again. You can breathe into a new possibility, speak a different phrase, imagine a brighter reality. And though at first the new story may feel fragile, with each repetition it grows stronger, until it becomes the new foundation on which your life is built. Remember that you are not doing this work alone. The very universe is conspiring with you. When you choose to align your words and energy with love, gratitude, and expansion, the field around you responds. People show up, opportunities appear, synchronicities multiply. It may seem like magic, but it is simply resonance, the outer world rearranging itself to reflect the story you are finally willing to tell. So ask yourself now, what story do you want your cells to hear today? What vibration do you want your body to embody? Will you continue to feed the echoes of the past, or will you honor the truth of your spirit by speaking words that give life, power, and freedom? The choice is always in your hands, and the choice begins not tomorrow, but in this very moment. Take one deep breath. Feel your body soften, and let these words anchor into you. You are not your old stories. You are not your pain, your past, or your fears. You are the awareness that sees them, the presence that can release them, the author that can write something new. The prison has no power when you stop feeding it. The new self is waiting, radiant and alive, ready to step forward the moment you give it permission. Your cells are listening. The universe is listening, and now it is time to tell the story of who you truly are.